Hello and good morning. When Jane divorced, she lost her house and her son, but she kept her daughter. When Neil divorced, his wife got his son, but only for 6 months until she got him back again. And Eric has travelled over 3,000 miles to find the daughter that his ex-wife has kept hidden from him for over 2 years. This morning, we're talking about custody battles. Eric, when did you last see your daughter?
It's been approximately 28 months now. I haven't seen her since early August of 87, and the last thing my daughter said to me before she left was, "Daddy, I love my mommy, but please don't send me back to her." She wanted to stay with me, and that's probably the crux of what happened. It's ironic that your show is called it's over child custody cases, because that's precisely where my case began, as a child custody case, and unfortunately it's mushroomed into something much larger than that. It's become a cause celebre for some people with a certain agenda of their own.
Yeah. But what happened in your case? Why haven't you seen your daughter?
I haven't seen my daughter because her mother had my daughter secreted away, and my daughter's seen neither of her parents for these over 2+ years she's been gone. I don't know where my daughter is. I have some suspicion that she might be here in Great Britain.
Why do you have that suspicion?
Well, only because the maternal grandmother is also missing, and she holds a British passport. My daughter has a passport. There is some belief amongst the media in Washington and amongst various police and other groups that she might indeed be here. I have no concrete evidence as to her whereabouts. Quite frankly, I don't even know if she's alive, and that's the incredible truth of this. I have to only hope and pray that someday I'll know my daughter's alive and well, and quite frankly, you know, this has been such an ordeal that I have come to the point that I have said, listen, I'll stand aside and let you keep this little girl as long as I can know on a continuing basis that she's going to be okay.
But this little girl, Hillary, who's 7, you think is in England because your wife, who's an American, has British parents. So Hillary's grandparents are British. You think she may be here?
The grandmother is British. The grandfather was an Italian American who changed his name from Metrano to Morgan.
But you haven't seen your daughter for 28 months. Your wife hasn't seen her either.
No, that's the irony. That's what's so unbelievable, and it's the reason why, since her release from incarceration, from jail, I have intensified my efforts to find my daughter, because her own mother has stated that she has no intention of seeing her.
Why was your wife in jail? Perhaps you want to explain.
She was placed in jail because she violated the court order, which the real reason she put my daughter away was because the court was going to change custody to me. At least Elizabeth Morgan thought the court was going to do that. And so to obstruct that change of custody, what she did was she had my daughter secreted away, and I can only assume that she might be with one or other of the grandparents, and that the grandparents in my case had an acrimonious divorce 1 year prior to my daughter's disappearance. And in fact, the grandmother accused her former husband of having abused all their children when they grew up, and Elizabeth in fact accused her own father of having abused her as a child. So what concerns me...
Is that what you were accused of?
That's what she's accused me of, and my parents. She accused my 70-year-old mother and my 75-year-old father.
So that's why she was prepared to go to the lengths of denying you custody of your daughter.
What happened in
if I can just recap for
Sure.
spending 2 years in prison, so neither she nor you have seen your daughter, because she made the allegation that you had sexually abused your daughter. Did you?
I never. I could never. The thought could never occur to me. I never harmed my daughter in any way, shape, or form. I have given my entire life to this little girl. I've taken lie detector tests. I've had countless numbers of people testified for me that have been in my home with me with my child. My case, unfortunately, is not unlike that of many, many other parents, and primarily fathers in America, and I believe also to some extent here in Great Britain. The allegation of child sexual abuse is becoming the nuclear weapon in child custody cases, and it's destroying families. What's horrible about it is it's destroying families. There are cases children have been abused. There's no question that it happens. But a case like mine is ruining it for those legitimate cases, and it is making a profound, a plethora of new cases. In fact, I have...
But your wife, I understand that point, and
Yeah.
we're going to discuss that.
Sure.
Perhaps that may be one of the weapons that are used in the battle for custody. But your wife clearly feels very strongly about it, to deny you access to your daughter, strong enough only not to see her herself, but to go to prison for her beliefs.
Well, it's hard within the context of a very brief show to explain all the motivations of Elizabeth Morgan. But to begin with, you got to understand...
Elizabeth Morgan being your wife.
Yeah, she's not a well woman. She's been diagnosed as having a multiple personality disorder by no one less than Dr. Elisa Benedict, who is president-elect of the American Psychiatric Association. Elizabeth Morgan is a very tenacious, a very rigid person. She saw that she was losing her daughter to me. She felt emotionally. She, quite frankly, as a little child, Elizabeth really didn't pay the attention to my daughter that she should have as a proper mother. She put her in a daycare center for many, many hours a day, and I became very bonded to my child in that situation. Besides that, Elizabeth Morgan, this is the woman who wrote 3 autobiographical books before the age of 40, one called Custody. She called Custody about her battle with me over the custody of my little girl. She put my daughter's picture in the paper. Now, in the book, now she just signed 2 weeks ago a $250,000 contract for her movie. So the bottom line, see, Elizabeth, we don't understand, as Elizabeth has other motivations.
We can't put
Right.
Elizabeth Morgan on trial here
And
this
that's
morning.
not
We don't
why I'm
intend...
here.
No.
And that's not why I'm in Great Britain
She's not
either.
here to speak for herself.
No.
Let me... do you have any great confidence or optimism that you're going to see your daughter?
And I wish I could honestly say that I do.
You're offering a reward.
I'm offering a reward. I've spent almost all my savings. I've double mortgaged my home. I've gone through countless hundreds of thousands of dollars in my quest to find my child. I'm not going to give up. I don't know whether I'm going to see her or not, but I only can hope and pray that she's alive and well and that someday she'll be returned.
Does everybody understand what he's going through? Does anybody want to talk to it? I heard it. Yeah, go on.
The gentleman was saying that his wife was putting his daughter into childcare and everything. When I split with my wife, that would be 3 years last September, just gone, she was doing exactly the same with my boy. And that just wasn't, I mean, that wasn't daycare centre, that was any Tom, Dick, Harry, anybody who wanted to, that would look after him.
Yeah.
And after 3 months I found out this was going on, and I just knew that I could do a better job of bringing him up than what she. So I gave up my job, career, driving instructor, to bring soul up of my boy.
Can you imagine a mother making those kind of accusations in order to get custody? Can you? Because when Eric was saying that, I heard people behind me muttering. You can. What, going to that length?
Well, yes, my wife, I divorced in 1965, is still running a vendetta after 27 years. And I had custody of my baby boy. I brought him up until he was 18, and I was happy doing that. We had a happy life together. And now at 27 years of age, he turned against me. We went into business together, and he tricked me out of the business. And he said this was because his mother convinced him that I was a wife-bashing rapist, and I'd been cruel to her. And I fought a divorce. And I was granted a divorce for cruelty, mental and physical, by my wife. He was to bruise herself all over and show the girls her naked, bruised body. She said, "I'll get those kids to hate you. It's the last thing I do." She would lock herself out at night, and when I saw a letter in the morning, discovered her out, and the kids would go to school, she'd say, "Now they'll hate you. I've got them to hate you."
Exactly.
So I can understand what this gentleman's going through.
That same thing.
I've had
Hang on, go on.
That same thing this gentleman's talking about. I'm having the problem, and I've had the problem for 28 months from his mother. She goes, she has never, ever stuck to any sort of access arrangement to see her son.
Let me do that. I want to know. You see, I find Eric's accusation, and I noticed that you were nodding your head when I asked, can you imagine a mother doing that in the battle, actually making up? You can.
Yes,
Why?
I can. I think there's an overwhelming passion on behalf of the mother that they want that child more than anything, and will create whatever false
Can I
environment
come in
around.
there? So you can believe that a mother can say to a child, or to other people, that her child, their child, has been abused by the father in order to get custody of the child?
Yes, I can believe that somebody would do that.
Are you in a battle for your child?
I'm not in a battle for my child, I'm in a battle for my husband's child. I'm actually here on his behalf. But
But can you imagine making,
I'm not saying that's happened in
no,
our case,
no,
but yes,
you can,
I can.
you feel strong,
Yes.
even though you're not the mother yourself, you can feel strongly enough to make that, because I saw you nodding quite vigorously when I was asking. You could do, so whatever, and I'm not casting aspersions on what you're saying, Eric, but in a sense, you're getting kind of corroboration that people can make it up front. Yes, my friend here.
Yes, I'm actually in a custody right of access case, and I can say that I sometimes feel the urge to make up lies or insinuations, simply because, I mean, I carried my baby for 9 months, and I looked after that baby, and I feel that it's wrong for someone who hasn't even cared or showed any attention for that child, in my mind.
But so you feel the temptation?
I feel the temptation.
Like our friend here is saying, that the
Yeah.
urge to have your child
Yeah.
and to control it, or not to let the father have it, is such that you'll make up stories.
Yeah, but at the same time, I still know that my child needs the right to see her
Right.
father.
But how can you if you've made up that kind of story?
I haven't made it up.
No, I know, but if you had.
If I had, I think when you do that kind of thing, you're clutching at straws. It's a last resort.
Pam?
Yeah, I definitely feel as though I can relate to what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I just wish I'd have lied and carried on.
Why? What happened?
Regardless.
What happened?
My husband made up all sorts of accusations in the court,
Yeah.
and therefore I lost custody of my children. You know, I only wish that, you know, I was the
What?
kind of vindictive person who would say those
What
type
happened?
of things.
What happened to you?
I had a long and tedious court battle over my children for parental custody, and he said all sorts of accusations to the likes that I'd abused my children physically, and you know that I didn't love them.
It's really bad
It's
because
mental torture
they
that I'm
take
going
you
through.
into court, even though you know you're doing the best for your child. They drag you through this court, which is a long process. And the thing is, you're made to feel like as if to say you're lower than anything. You know what I mean? That you can't be trusted to look after your child. This child that you have carried for 9 months inside your stomach is no good to you.
Yeah. My husband took the children from me, came and took them after I had actually left him, and took them back up to London, and he was working full-time, but he got himself a very young nanny to come and live in. And I, like this lady was saying, and this lady, you find, when I went to pick the children up to have them for a half-term, you walk into the house, and I was trying to find things that were wrong, physically and mentally and all around the house, sorry,
That's all right, my
to
love.
see, so that I could have something to fight back with. And I had to make that decision of, do I do that, or do I really go through the law and really try and get it clear cut?
What did you do?
I went through the law and got
But
it
you,
clear
but you
cut.
can. The temptation was there.
And even now it's still there. I mean, when
Why
the
even
children,
now?
well, when the children come back,
You've got the kids now.
I've got the
so
kids,
So you
yes.
weren't through clean, legal, but clean means.
Yes, I would say that.
But if you had to, you'd fight dirty.
I would have done.
And as,
Oh, I would have done. If I
What
thought
you-
for 1 minute I wasn't going to have my
I
children.
feel as though I've been so cheated. They're my children, and I love them.
And it's the humiliation of it.
And
You know,
I mean,
you
the
just end
media
up in a
around me,
courthouse.
from the neighbourhood where I live, I feel as though everybody's casting aspersions on me, that I don't
That's
love
it.
them, and what has that woman done? You
Yeah.
know?
They were
hang on, my
criticising.
love.
About the father, to make up lies about a father. I mean, in a lot of times, what has he done? I'm here for my husband. We fight for custody of our stepdaughter. He's been accused, I've been accused, of screwing this child up psychiatrically. She tried in court to get a psychiatrist to see this child. She tells this child that her father is a bad man, he's a nasty man. The father is at a disadvantage to start with because public sympathy, the welfare services are for the father, and it is not fair. Women want
for the
equality.
father. Are for the father. Or against the father.
Are for the mother. The welfare services are so for the mother.
No.
She just gets it all the way. Women want no discrimination. It's so discriminated against a father simply because he's a man.
Well, go on, Sheila.
We have a case. I mean, my daughter is 9 now, and I made a conscious decision for my daughter when she was 3 to live with her father. I gave up all rights to my daughter as being her maternal mother because, in all honesty, my daughter was better off with her father. He loves her, he cares for her. Her stepmother made commitments that I couldn't make. She gave up her job when they weren't even married to look after my daughter. She is a super well-balanced child. They could never have given her what they've given her.
So you... Sorry, go on. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, but it's your child. I mean, don't you have that maternal instinct that you want to raise that child?
Your child.
You
when it comes
that child. You
but
brought it into
the
world.
child's happiness has to come
Hang
first.
on.
Right.
My daughter was
Why do you
chewing.
say...
I understand. What really amazes me is the way the poison can come out in courtrooms.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, I was branded a prostitute, an alcoholic and a drug addict, all rolled into one, to brand me as an unfit mother.
Just a minute, my friend, just a minute.
No.
This was by your husband when fighting for custody?
Yeah, my husband gave this to his lawyer. Now, lawyers, to me, they must be so naive to listen to that and write it down and say, fine, okay, we'll say this to the judge.
Yeah. This is true.
You know.
Yeah, this is true. They are so, because my child's father has never seen Rachel from 3 months. He's never given her a penny. He's never provided for her. He's never been to see her. He's now currently living with somebody else who has another child for him, and he's still taking me through this custody battle. And I can't understand how a solicitor can take everything down and then present it through the court, bearing in mind the true facts.
I mean, do they honestly believe everything they're hearing? I feel they just write it down for money.
Stephen.
They're getting a little check at the end of the day.
Stephen,
That's it, they write it down for money. Do you really believe?
Do they
what's
really
being told?
believe? Do they really
No.
believe, Stephen?
No.
Stephen, you're a welfare officer who has to make this decision.
Yes.
Is whether all the lies here against Jane are lies or whether they're the truth. How do you decide?
Well, I don't think we do, and I don't think it's our job to decide. The point is, and I think the difficulty being in your position, Jane, is so often you know passionately that you're getting a lot of lies, and you're hoping the welfare officer's going to believe you.
Yeah,
but of course, he's hearing the other side of it, and as most of these things are in four walls between you two, a welfare officer can't make decisions about those and doesn't try to. We try and make our decisions on the basis of what we know for facts, and what things are disputed, we leave for the court to make their mind up about. I can't make a judgment about things like that.
You know, this is what I feel. Who can? Who can say who's a good mother, who is a good father?
Yeah.
Who can actually decide that? Only the couple themselves.
Hang on, let Stephen answer.
You've got to make a bit of a distinction. I think the problem is sometimes about getting confusion between a good person and a good parent. I think most of the children I see would think that both of their parents are good parents. It's the parents who don't think much of each other as people, right? And that's the distinction it's very hard for some parents to grasp.
Hang on, I want someone else. Come on. Sorry, what were you...
Well, I didn't have to make anything up against my husband. It just happened. I was perfectly happily married in an ideal situation. I had almost three children. And one day I came home to find my husband wearing my clothes and my underwear. And he was covered in tattoos, and I had no idea that this had occurred. He went away. He was so disgusted with himself, and he went away. And I tried to sympathise with him and get him back home because he left me destitute. The house was going, the lights were going out, the gas was going off. I had these three babies and nowhere for them to sleep. They were sleeping on the floor. I said, please come home because we just cannot manage without you. We'll talk the problem through. He came home, he admitted he had a problem, but there's nothing that we could do about it. He went away, and in the meantime, he was gone months. I met somebody else, a professional man who would take care of us, but he was married. My husband, they wanted to come back, and he said, if I don't come back to you, and you won't have me back, then I will make sure that I will take the children from you. One way or the other, I'll get my children. And he did. It took him a year to do it, and he broke me.
How did he do it?
He followed me, he had my telephone tapped, he used threats, he bribed the social worker. I found them drinking in the pub together. The man was accepting bottles of scotch. He was making up lies against me. I was a terrible woman. What kind of a woman is it that goes off with a married man that breaks up another home? I didn't stand a chance. And I was mentally just washed out with it.
Did you do anything of that in reverse? You see, we've had testimony from our other mothers that the maternal instinct, Jane, Pam said, is so strong. I think Pam almost said you'd do anything, didn't you, Pam?
Virtually, I feel as though I could do anything.
And Jane is definitely...
I couldn't go against him. He had an injunction, because he used to bash me up as well. He used to drink heavily and hit me. We had an injunction against him. He broke the injunction one night and attacked my boyfriend and myself. The injunction was against him, I went to court over it. When it came to the actual crunch, I couldn't use that injunction. And the judge said, look, don't waste my time. This isn't between you and your husband. This is now between him and me. He broke my injunction. I'm sending him to prison.
Who else has done
I
the
said, please don't do this, because my children will never forgive me. And afterwards, I met him outside court. And he said, I said, well, come have a drink with me now. Let's forget all this. Let's be friends. He said, I'd never be seen having a drink with you. And walked off. He said, I'll get those kids. Believe you me, I'll get them. So I didn't use my opportunity. I couldn't do it against him. I couldn't hurt him.
I think there's a problem, Robert, within this situation. When you first go through it, I think everybody here, I mean, that lady there saying you've been vilified by your ex-husband, solicitors, etc. We all do it to each other because we feel that we're losing something which is really, really special to us. We don't share anymore when we go through these things. We should share. There is not the facilities to the court system with court welfare officers, people with solicitors. I think solicitors should not be allowed to deal with custody cases.
No.
Yeah.
Why?
They rip you apart.
No,
They rip you apart.
I don't think I should either. We've got a case where my husband and I split up. I threw him out actually because he was an alcoholic and he used to beat me up quite severely. I decided I couldn't carry on living like that. I had a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. What was I supposed to do? He did leave. Not what he wanted, obviously, but he did leave eventually. I met Tony. Our children were 2 and 1. We started to bring them up. We built a life together. And then he decided that he wanted to see them. They were 4 and 5. He decided to go for access. He decided that he wanted to make a commitment to their life. Not financially. He's never ever paid a penny towards them. He's never made a commitment to see them regularly. He just comes and ruins our life once a year, whenever he feels like it.
When you say comes and ruins your life, you mean
he sends us letters from solicitors saying that he wants to see them regularly.
Solicitors, you see.
And
They just make money out of the situation.
it's so traumatic. It really is. Every year, a good once
But you see,
a year.
Nick said, before he started going on about solicitors, he actually said in response to our friend here that we all use these things against each other.
But
we all use
I
these
can
dirty...
appreciate what you're saying.
Is the
but
prize
what
so...
happens when your children are older and you have to tell them the truth about why you split up with their parents? Will they believe you?
But on the second part, you've got another problem. I'll give you an example. I've got a superb little daughter, right? At the moment, my wife has interim custody, right? I'm fighting it, right? Now, I can actually say in front of this audience, I will lose custody because I'm a man, seriously.
No, I don't.
No, I'll be quite honest, that's the way it usually works, right? It does usually work. This is what I'm taught.
Well, let all these women are saying, no, you're wrong, so let one... Go on, Pam, talk to him.
My husband was awarded interim custody, and on the basis of that interim custody, it was stated that the children should not move school. They were to stay... Actually, he moved in next door to me with another woman. Which everybody finds so hard to
win
believe.
that, did he have to slag you so badly?
Yes,
Well,
I
I'm not
think
going to
the
do that
children
to
and
my
that.
wife. I will not do it, even if I lose custody. I
My
will not
husband
do it.
moved in next door with another
Wait a
woman.
minute, have other men done it in order to win custody? What have you had to do it? Have you had to stoop? In order to win? See, I was looking at you when you were talking about men can't win and you were getting...
Men can win.
You won?
I won custody of my boy, right?
So he can win?
You can win.
No,
You've got to.
hang on. Nick says he wants to win, but he's going to play fair.
Exactly. I played fair.
You played fair?
I played fair. It's the welfare that...
It's the welfare.
Welfare officers that broke my situation.
How did you play fair? Wait a minute, I don't understand. Hang on. All these women are saying they'd play dirty. All right?
We haven't.
You would.
We haven't.
You would.
What we want.
You're saying you wouldn't?
My sole interest was for my boy.
Yeah.
And nothing else. Nothing.
Sorry.
I only want the best way to bring my boy up into this world, because that's a cruel world out there, and that's what I put in everything else. I had 3 welfare reports to do. Two of them, everything I said, he didn't...
Hang on, what are you saying?
I've got custody of 3 boys. I've lost my home, my job, £4,500 in lawyers' fees. I've nursed him since he's 10 days old, and he's now 4.5 years, and the eldest is 12. I was arrested for beating my wife, supposedly, with an ashtray. When they came to arrest me, there was fingerprints on the ashtray. She had done it. But she'd stooped so low to accuse me of doing that, so I couldn't get my kids.
I think I was trying to disagree with Stephen before about the welfare officers not making decisions. The welfare officers unwittingly do make the decision.
They do.
Pam's case was decided before it got into court. I made her play fair. So this is, just a moment. I've always believed in the system, and I made a play to the system. She got into court, and all the evidence that we collected over the interim period, and we worked hard, was just ignored. And the report of the welfare officer was paramount.
Yeah,
that's right.
My ex-husband, I mean, we went down one day and it was Starsky and Hutch. We took my daughter, me and some friends, and that was on a Sunday, and on a Tuesday, he had me in court. He cares that much about his daughter. He took me back to court and got an interim care order where she was given to him. Now, we had probation officers involved, we had everybody involved. And all along the line, people were saying to me, oh, don't worry, Sam, you'll get her back. You're her mother, you'll get her back. You'll have it. No, it was already decided that my daughter would come back to me. Now, Chris, her father, is super. He's first class. And I took a conscious decision and said, look, you're telling me, Brian, that's my probation officer, that she's going to come back to me. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to take her back. But I can't do that because she bonded with her father. Her father had the right to have my daughter. I made a choice. He had the right. He'd had an interim custody order for 10 months. My daughter was used to coming to me on a weekend, used to going back to her dad, used to the environment. Now,
Don't you feel as though you,
no.
Don't you love her? And
I love her.
She does.
But at the end of the day, my daughter is happy with her father.
Wendy.
I feel the same way as you. I mean, if I felt that I couldn't do enough for my children, that if I wasn't the right type of person to bring up my children, I would make the decision for my husband to take them.
Fathers shouldn't be
also, I mean, you're all talking about custody. I think that if you're given reasonable access to your child, there is not as much reason to snatch. It's called sharing.
Have you got children, Wendy?
Yes.
Are you in this position at all?
No, I am divorced, and we came to a reasonable agreement about the children. I'd say that my husband actually saw more of the children after the divorce than when we were actually married, although everything's okay at the moment.
Well, I feel the people here, and there's so many stories, are sad. The lady there, what you got to do, you've got to get your head together. Be friendly together, because I tell you, you're missing so much. I brought 2 children up. 12 years ago, I obtained custody, but when my wife, they go wherever they want with their mother. And get your heads together, you're adults. Be friendly. You walked away. He said, be friends, and you walked away. Because I tell you, you're missing so much. You're missing so much fun, so much excitement, so much laughter, and you're the sad people. And this lady here, don't worry about these solicitors. Do it yourself between you. That man's only there to rip you off. He'll believe you're a prostitute and a drug addict because it pays him to believe that.
No, this is
together.
Not that man. That man's this is the solicitor.
Oh, you're the solicitor.
Sterling, do you want to answer to it? Do you want to answer to it? Sterling, do you want to answer?
I was keeping quiet because I was interested to hear...
I mean, in a way, you're the only one that wins in all this, aren't you?
Absolutely. I've been told that I'm the only one that wins on a number of occasions, but to tell you the truth, I've heard so much and I hear so much about what I'm going to win and what he's going to win and what I'm going to lose and what he's going to lose. And some of the people here that I've seen today saying that I've got that maternal instinct and I'm not going to let my children go because it's my right, they're then nodding when this chap here says that you should get your heads together. I win as a solicitor if I don't go to court with you. I win as a solicitor if you go to see conciliation officers. I win as a solicitor if at the end of your divorce there is a negotiated settlement and that time is not taken up in court talking about who's a bad parent and who's a good parent, because at the end of it, it's not a question of who wins, it's a question of who loses. The only one that loses is the child and the children. And if you look at that, then that's the way forward, is to look to see what the child really wants.
Hold on, my love. Hold on, Jane.
I understand the child loses, but does the solicitor care?
Yes.
When my ex-wife got the custody of the child, right, after a year, she dumped the 3 children on my doorstep. I was living in a bedsit. Today, I'm suffering £70,000 debts to keep my 3 children for 2.5 years. Suddenly, she takes them. And what has the solicitor been doing all this time to convert the custody over to my name? Nothing. Except been telling me I'm writing to her, but she's not replying. I'm writing to her solicitor, she's not replying. For 2.5 years, and today I've lost the kids and facing 70,000 debts.
Nick.
That is something that I've actually gone through. I've changed from one solicitor to another. I didn't know what the hell to do in the beginning, right? I didn't know whether to attack my wife, you know, physically as well, right? Take her to court, do this, do that to her, right? And, you know, you talk to solicitors and they say, you're going for custody, you've got no chance.
No chance,
right?
that's right.
They, you know,
They'll tell you again and again.
These rules they play by, they're not out of my book.
Yeah, what happened to the children for 2.5 years while they were with me? I brought them up, I clothed them, I fed them.
That's right.
I looked after them, I loved them. What is she doing now? She doesn't see the children. From Monday to Friday she's working. The children are with her mother or sister-in-law, with a friend. From Monday to Friday, come weekends, they're with me. When has she got the time for love?
Where are the children best off?
With me.
Is that
Because I sacrificed my job.
Is that what they would say?
Yes, my youngest son, who is 6 years old, after he'd been there for 5 years.
In the end, we have to kind of decide, don't we?
I am deciding for the children's sake, not for my sake.
Of course, of course.
Because if the children are with me, that means I'll have to cook, feed, look after them. I've got to be a mother and a father.
Do you take into account what the children... How old are the children?
6, 7, and 11.
What about... So the 7 and even the 6-year-old, but certainly the 11-year-old, could have a view. It's an invidious position to put it... Do you ask the 11-year-old?
Yes. My 6-year-old said to his mother, can you pack my bag? I want to go with Dad.
Okay,
I don't want to live with you.
What about other children? Other children...
You don't have a judge here.
Don't have the what?
There is no judge.
The judge. You can't get a judge in them.
Well,
on the children. What about the children? We've got children here, haven't we? Can I ask you? Have you been asked? Are you asked?
No.
Yeah, are you asked? Sitting next to one. No, you're not a child. Were you asked? Were you asked? Who you wanted to go with? How
Well, I
old
wanted
were
to go with my dad.
And you with your mum?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It was the judge.
Hang on, he said
No,
he speaks for himself.
It wasn't so much me wanted to go with my dad. It's just my dad just took me.
But you wanted to go that way anyhow.
I didn't mind the decision.
Is it an awful position to be put in, to have to choose between your mother and your father? What does it do to your relationship?
Well, it hurts both sides.
What do you tend to play that off against your mother and your father? Do you tend to kind of use that position that they're insecure about you because you can kind of decide to tell the kind of stories, if you like, that our friends have been talking about, that you can prejudice the welfare officer or the solicitor against one or the other? Tell lies, yeah. Are you aware of that? You never do that?
I sacrifice not having my boy with me, only because he's there, because he wants to be there, and it's what makes him happy. I agree with this gentleman, and I agree with that gentleman there. You don't have to lose your children if you get together and you talk it over. You don't have to lose it.
If you're civilised and you're amicable,
that's right.
There's no need for this young man to play one against the other. If he can see that his mother and his father are reasonable, well-conducted adults, and he'll be a stable young lad, and he'll enjoy the relationship of his mother and his father, and his mother and his father will enjoy his company.
Well, you mean he's getting more?
Sure he is. And so he should do, because he has gone through something where his parents are divorced, and so whatever happens, you see, the parents, either of them, the mother and the father, eventually finish up with somebody else. But this young man, he's still got parents who are divorced.
Do children use it, though? Did children use it? Do they?
No. I was separated from Jamie's father when he was only 8 months old, and we have had an amicable custody. It was agreed, the judge did agree that I had custody, but his father didn't argue it at all. He knew that he would be better off with me, and he's 13 now, so for nearly 12 years he's gone happily between his dad and me.
When you're going happily between your dad and your mum, do you tend to play one off against the other? You know what I mean. I don't mean it in a nasty or kind of vicious or malicious way. We all play our parents off one against the other, don't we? Yeah. I mean, well, definitely. Thank goodness all the adults to say. You know what I mean? Or that you want? Do you in any way at all? Either for do you get
interrogated in other words? You know, who's dad's seen today?
Oh,
you know?
yeah, you are. You are. Do you?
Well, I visit my dad every 2 weeks.
But do you hear what he asked you? Come on, say it again to him.
Do you get interrogated?
By his mum, you mean?
By his mum.
By your mum. Hang on, Mum, you're not answering for him. Look how she jumped to answer. Do you? He's being loyal to his daddy. No,
but we never had that.
But why do you ask that? Do you do that then? Do you
I don't do it, but I've had it to me.
You've had it done. Okay,
we never
do you
had
do it? Do you do it? Do you ask him? Yeah, because he doesn't have to answer for himself now. Mum can answer for him.
No, I suppose if anything, I have. I might have said to him, because I have remarried, and he's
but isn't
got
that putting the kids in a rotten position when you're doing that to them?
Well, no, but it's only because my ex-husband was going to be here today because we get on so well, and he, so we go to any of his families, weddings, christenings. We're invited as a family.
Hang on, my friend. Hang on, my friend. Hang on. You can ask your questions here too. Hold on, my... Yeah. Yes, you can.
I've got a son of 15. I mean, I've had custody of him since the age of 3.
Are you talking to...
I've been divorced 12 years.
I don't know whether you are or not. I'll come round if you're not.
On behalf of my son, who's not here, he's 15. He's been with me, and he's seen his father. He's had free access. But now at 15, the father's emotionally blackmailing him. He's an alcoholic. And he's playing that he'll kill himself if, his son doesn't stay with him. He's beaten up his present wife, and he just wants to see his son all the time. The boy's very confused. He's been with me all his life. He just doesn't know where to turn now. So,
and he's the piggy in the middle, as my friend here is saying, always the kids are torn.
I feel so defenseless because I can't do anything.
Here to defend himself. He's just, there's a...
Are you together?
No, I'm not.
No.
But there's been a list there of accusations.
Okay, there be some other friends here. What about that? Are you the piggy in the middle?
No.
You're not? Don't you feel... You're divorced, and did you fight for custody for them?
No, the point of my situation was that I didn't fight, because I was a bit like that lady there.
By
I thought,
Sheila.
who's to say who's a good parent or whatever.
So what happened?
And, well, they stayed, obviously, in the house they knew and schools they knew and everything.
So that was what with Dad?
Yeah, that's right.
So both of you stayed with your dad?
Yeah.
Did you find that difficult to make that decision?
We didn't have a decision. We didn't have a choice.
It just happened?
Yeah.
We didn't have a choice. It was just... We lived there, so we stayed there.
What about this thing? Do you get interrogated?
No.
When you visit Dad or Mum, you don't? Not one of them says, what was your dad doing today? Or who was he with?
No.
Honestly, never?
No.
You're an angel. You've got to be. I mean, it's natural curiosity to say that. Even if it's not interrogating, that's a harder word. Just natural curiosity, come on.
No, honestly, it's only because, in a way, because I care for his dad, and I know that he'd had a couple of relationships, that didn't come to anything, and I am, I'm happily remarried now with 2 other children, which, incidentally, have never ever been referred to as, oh, these are my half brothers, or this is my stepdad. He calls his dad Dad, and he calls my husband Dad, and his brother and sister are just his brother and sister, and he's just what I would say is a normal, happy, well-adjusted 13-year-old boy.
Do you tend to play off your parents? Do you tend to play them off? Everybody, all the adults say you do, and you're all denying it. I mean, actually, not ever. You don't ever kind of think, well, if I can get more from, not at all. No, so.
Robert, could I say something?
Hang on, my friend. You, I suppose, have got it all, haven't you? Really? So after all this, you've got your mother and your father and your stepfather and your stepmother and a large family.
Lots of grandparents.
Yeah. Do you feel that that's an advantage?
Well, at Christmas, I get double presents.
Well, there's a lot of losers, but there's also a lot of winners here today. See you in the morning.